change the council rules.
Okay.
And it's regarding the time that we're getting with these $1 million purchases, okay?
Okay.
So I talked it over with Don. I just want to bring it up real quick. I want to give you a heads up.
Thank you. Hey, and you had the conversation with Joanne and Chief, right? Good. How are you, sir? Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the July 26, 2021 edition of the St. Charles County Council meeting. We will start with our invocation from Matt Zimmerman. Thank you very much, from Apostolistic Christian Church. And our Pledge of Allegiance is from Councilman Joe Brazel. Would you please stand and remove your hats?
Let's pray here. God, we want to come to you before the council meeting here tonight and just we pray for the meeting. Pray for those that would lead the meeting and participate, the board members, and also even the citizens here. Lord, we just ask that you would work in all the hearts here, that it could be a peaceful meeting, that as things are brought up and discussed, that it could go, we know, as your will would be, Lord. So just pray for all those involved. We want to thank you for this country that we live in and the freedoms that we do have and we can experience here. We thank you for this, and we want to also think of our those in our police department and just the departments that help keep us safe and run in this time. It doesn't take much, Lord, to see what's going on around us, and we just lift everything to you, Father. So again, be with us tonight, and we ask all this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Please call the roll.
Councilman Cronin.
Here.
Councilman Brazel.
Here.
Councilman Hammond.
Here.
Councilman Elam.
Here.
Councilman Hollander.
Here.
Councilwoman Schneider. Here. Councilman White.
Here.
We have a couple of public presentations tonight. We will start with a proclamation from Saints Joachim and Ann Care Service.
Hi there. I'm going to go ahead and read the proclamation, and it says, whereas St. Charles County government is pleased to honor Saints Joachim and Ann Care Service celebrating 40 years of service to enhance the quality of life of the area's residents, and whereas on July 26, 1981, St. Joachim and Ann Care Service was founded by Father Robert Liebrecht, pastor at the time of St. Joachim and Ann Catholic Church, along with Miriam Mahan, Clara Shappy, Shirley Petrosky, Jane Much, Sandy Stetson, with $500 and a mission to serve those in crisis and to prevent homelessness and hunger. And whereas that mission is still carried on today by 32 employees and hundreds of volunteers that have served the community faithfully for 40 years, and whereas their vision is safe and affordable housing as a fundamental human right in a community where no person spends a night without food or shelter, and whereas the street outreach program meets the individuals where they are, in the park, on the street corner, or in an abandoned building, to provide them with basic life-saving supplies, and the care service has housed and kept thousands from being homeless. And whereas since the inception of the street outreach program in 2014, the care service has housed 95 individuals with the highest barrier to obtaining housing, and whereas the Children and Family Development Program has provided tens of thousands of case management hours to fragile families who want to break the cycle of homelessness or crisis in their households, and whereas the housing program has provided over $6 million in direct housing assistance to our community in just the last 15 years, and over the past 40 years, the Client Choice Food Pantry has provided millions of pounds of food to St. Charles residents, and Adopt a family has provided Christmas to over 27,000 families in our area. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Steve Ellman, St. Charles County Executive, on behalf of St. Charles County Government, do hereby recognize and congratulate St. Joachim and Ann Care Service of St. Charles County for 40 years of support and service to the citizens of St. Charles County. I've been around for about 35 of those years, and boy, I think all the time I spent listening to Miriam, God bless her, and I know that she's gone now, but you all have done a great job of continuing the tradition that she started, and boy, I remember working on projects in Jefferson City with you all, and anyway, you've been a big part of our community for a long time, and thank you for everything, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You want to say a few words?
Sure, thank you. So, yes, we want to thank everyone in our community for helping us be here. 40 years is a long time for any organization, and a good portion of that we were entirely volunteer run. It's really only been since the early 2000s that we've had staff members. So we've relied on our community to keep us going, and we still do. We couldn't accomplish any of what we accomplish without the support of our governments, without the support of our just people in the community that help us make these things happen. We're the catalyst for it, but it wouldn't happen without anyone else. So thank you for recognizing us, but thank you for your support as well.
Thank you very much.
I would really want to thank you all because you've done so much for the needy in this county, and I've had the opportunity to work with your organization, gathering bikes for kids at Christmas through the Loyal Order of the Squirrels. I was a longtime member of that and president, and we got a lot of referrals from you all that need help. So if anybody's looking for an organization that donates some money to, that does unbelievable things for this county, St. Joe Bananas are the people.
Excellent. Thank you. With that, we move on to our second public presentation, and I would invite Chief Riz up front.
Mr. Chairman, while he's coming up and bringing his officer with him, I would just note to you that in this year's capital plan, you may remember that we have body cameras for our three major law enforcement departments, the police department, the sheriff's department, and corrections. They all talk to us about needing certain things, expecting certain things to be transparent and able to be reviewed. And so we put it in the capital plan this year. It is funded. When we put the bid out, we had 7 responses from all the major body camera and some of the minor body camera folks. And the law enforcement officers in the 3 agencies were involved in scoring that, as were their departments. Management, and it came down to 2 that they thought were far better than the others in terms of their offerings. And those cameras were worn by officers in all 3 agencies. I guess you guys got volunteers, or you assigned the volunteers. And they wore first one, and then they flipped and they wore the other. So all of this was done with input of those officers, and the choice was made clearly from the folks that they felt was the best. It's interestingly enough, in the out years, it was completely within budget, and this year, while we were very, very close, we moved some other things around, so there's no additional funds required. And so we are ready to go, and the chief's going to make a presentation, but the sheriff's here with Sergeant Rackhouse, and Director Keene is here, so any questions at all that you have of any of the agencies, they're here and they're happy to answer.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the body cameras. I'm pretty passionate about it. As you know, since the events of Ferguson in 2014, there's been a lot of focus on law enforcement accountability, transparency, and a call for body cameras and in-car cameras in law enforcement. So we're certainly not ahead of the curve on this. 4 of the other agencies in St. Charles County already have these. Many in St. Louis County already do. So we're catching up, but I think we've done this right. Went through the normal procurement process, as Joanne said, and a competitive bid. We had many presentations from the different vendors and had a good cross-section of all of our agencies involved. And then ultimately came down to 2. We had each department, the corrections, sheriff, and police, had officers wear these systems for 4 weeks each, and then they switched. They filled out a daily evaluation, and then we scored those evaluations. Before we go on, so it came down to utility, which is their camera system is called body worn. The thing I like about it, that I get excited about, it's integrated into the uniform, which Corporal Ron's going to come up and demonstrate, and he's going to show you the end user ease of use. But it's integrated in. It's not the box on the chest where officers can put it in different places. You get an inconsistent view. It's very consistent. It's all uniforms will be modified the same way, and so it's a very consistent view when we have to review a video. And it doesn't come loose, and if there's an altercation with an officer, it's going to stay. It's very stable. So we had a video I'd like to show. It's a 1.5-minute video. Give you a good overview of what this system is.
Sending body worn down in 5 seconds. Body worn down. Recording. Be on the lookout, dangerous person. Body worn recording.
I'm going to ask Corporal Ronald to come up. And if you noticed in that, the one thing that they integrated in their system is several triggers to activate it. So they really minimize the use. The officer having to push buttons and activate the camera. There's several triggers. Activating your red lights will turn the camera system on. Pulling your handgun will activate the camera. Pulling your taser will activate the camera. And then, or they can self-activate by a watch they wear. So it literally is just a cell phone and a little watch they can wear on their belt or on their wrist to activate and stop the camera. But it's very user-friendly, so I want you to hear from an end user. So, Corporal
Body
Ron.
worn on duty.
Yeah, I actually was not a voluntold person. I was a volunteer. I'm a very big advocate for cameras. I had the liberty of working with cameras for like 9 years of my career prior to coming here, and they're very, very good for law enforcement. And I don't think there's anything better than it. So one of the things you saw in there, it kind of briefly showed it, like the officer had a picture kind of sent to the phone. And I think when you see officers, you're out and about in the field, right? We go out and we're running out in the field, and all of a sudden something changes, right? In our work, they can send us out something, a photograph of a guy that we're looking for. Maybe something changes and it's a different person.
Body worn down in
And then you
30
see that
seconds.
something may happen to me. It only takes a moment, and everyone knows where I am, and it sends it to the location. They'll get an
Body worn
update.
down,
They know
cancel.
exactly where I am, but if I get back up, it cancels it, and they'll know that I'm okay. Because I may be climbing on something or crawling down on something, and it knows that that I'm actually just fine. Same thing with this remote.
Recording.
I can press a button and record it, and do the same thing.
Recording discarded.
I can also just cancel it as well. And then I'll go in here and tag everything that I want, and this also doubles as a camera. So it kind of makes all our other cameras obsolete. And it dings and chimes and tells me that I've got all this stuff seated. and this thing will lock in place into this uniform. And this thing was very sturdy. I never had a problem with this thing one time my entire time I was using this. I had a brief opportunity to wear the other one, and it fell off all the time. This thing is great. You saw how clear it was in that picture. It is exactly that way. You can see everything as clear as day. I'm a big DWI enforcement officer. I can mark everything that I can see, whether it's...
Body work down in 30 seconds.
I'm fine, camera.
Body
That's all
work
right.
down, cancel.
I'm doing okay. I'm not doing laundry or anything.
Recording.
But it's a very good tool for law enforcement. These days, everybody has cameras. So why shouldn't your law enforcement officers have cameras just the same to do just the opposite and show what the transparency is and the truth out there, what we are really seeing firsthand, so you can see what we are doing, so you can see the truth and see what you can believe, what we are doing as a police officers. Your officers out there in this county are working hard every day, and there's no reason why you shouldn't see
Stop
what we're
recording.
doing firsthand and see the truth. This thing's gonna go off again, I'm pretty sure.
Mr. Chairman, I'd also mention that, a big part of what the law enforcement officers are doing is to ultimately lead to prosecution. And this system is fully integrated with the prosecutor's office. They'll be able to send their evidence electronically. I think it's 30 days now, that the prosecutor has to turn all evidence in electronic format over to the defense. They're able to do that by giving defense counsel direct access to whatever piece of the information they're going to use. And they can then get into that piece of it and see it, access it, do whatever they need to do as defense counsel. So it's a fully integrated system, and there's no extra cost for storage. What you see is what you're going to get. We're not coming back to you saying, oh, now we got to pay for more storage.
The nice thing about this system, there is no hardware. They're a service provider, so if this breaks, he's going to get a new one. They're just going to replace it. They're not in the hardware business. They're in the software business. So it's a service they're providing. Everything goes in the cloud of a website called Avail Web, and they can write the report, upload their video, and send it over to the prosecutor's office. There's audit trails to see who viewed the video. It can't be edited by the front-end user. It can be redacted for media release or other purposes, but only by a system administrator. That's all tightly controlled. It's all written in the policy that we've already established for the test and evaluation phase of this. So we feel like we have a very sound policy already in place. Another component of this whole package that you have in front of you is the in-car camera system. And I think for the Sheriff's Department and our department, it's a front-facing camera and a rear-facing camera. The rear-facing camera keeps an eye on your prisoner, and which again, that way when officers get accused of something or there's contraband left in the car, you have a trail to go back and look and see what was going on in the back of that car. I've viewed several highway patrol pursuits that they've had both cameras going, and it really paints the whole picture. So we all know that everybody's pointing cameras at us. This creates us the opportunity to put our video out in context with that 180-degree view to show this is the officer's perspective and why he responded the way he responded. No matter which environment you're working in, corrections, sheriff's department, or police department. So we're all going to benefit. I'm really excited about the officer safety features in this. I do know for a fact it's already saved the life of a St. Louis County officer who was in foot pursuit, had a cardiac event, and they were able to locate him via GPS and send officers right to him. So it will save officers' lives.
Any questions from council? Mr. Cronin, then Mr. White.
Unfortunately, in this world, somebody will try to abuse that video if they get a hold of it. If a public records request for this video that they're getting is made, are we obligated to turn that in, Roy, to them, to the public?
The Sunshine Law does have provisions that deal with body camera footage. I'll give you the lawyer's answer. It depends on exactly what the circumstances are, but the Sunshine Law does have pretty robust provisions. So obviously each camera is going to be reviewed for the specific facts that it was recorded in to be able to make that determination.
If it's an active criminal investigation, it will stay closed while the criminal investigation is active.
Okay, just my concern is that somebody gets a hold of that and uses social media to slander an officer or the victim.
The only way they can get hold of it is if we release it, so, and we have tight controls over that.
Okay.
The officers can only do so much with it. They can do their reviewing of it for their report writing accuracy, but they don't have any editing rights at all. So,
Can an officer send it to some other source, or does it just go right to the administration software?
it goes up to the cloud.
Okay.
And then if it's a use of force or a citizen complaint, then it will be reviewed by the normal chain of command that would review a complaint. Just the video would now become a component of that investigation.
Mr. White?
This seems like an incredible amount of information that's going into the cloud. How long are we required to store it?
So we have 3 levels of storage written in our policy. If Corporal Reynolds stops a car and it's uneventful, it's going to stay, if he doesn't tag it, other than if this doesn't get tagged, it'll stay up for 30 days and fall off. That's most of our events. Unless there's a citizen complaint, then we'll go back and we'll tag it because there's a complaint attached to it. If it's a level 2, that would be level 3. Level 2 would be 7 years. That's if it's anything but a Class A, Class B felony. And then if it's a Class A felony, Class B felony, or something very egregious, it'll stay on for a lifetime.
Okay,
So
very good, thank you.
a lot of video falls off in 30 days. We'll take a lot of video, but much of it, most of our public encounters aren't real exciting. So.
Any other questions or comments, Mr. Cronin?
One more, and this might be over Joanne. I've read the contract and everything, it's 5 years. What happens in year 6, okay? You reevaluate, you renegotiate a new contract, how does that work?
Yes, that's the intent. We don't know 5 years ago that this kind of technology would even exist. So it's a 5-year. If they continue to be one of the leading providers, then we will probably want to re-up with them. But we probably will have to test the waters depending upon what happens with the market.
If something's better out there in 5 years, you have that option as well then.
Right. Police body cameras are a hot commodity right now, and everybody's in a race to make the technology better and better. I think, from what I understand from the officers, they really felt this was the leading technology. Who knows what they're going to come up with next.
Sure.
And the nice thing is when that expires, if we don't own this. We just turn it all in, the service contract falls off.
Yep.
So we don't have a bunch of cameras we can't do anything with, or we don't have to worry about warranties and extended warranties. We don't have to worry about all that. So.
And we have a right to our data. We own it, and that's, I'm sure you saw in the contract as well.
So that's the question I was going to ask of, if we don't re-up with these guys down the road, and you said felony cases at certain levels are going to stay for a lifetime.
We'll have that still.
We have access to that, or do they transfer it to us, or they keep it? We don't
own the
have
data.
to.
Yep.
We own the data, but we don't house the data, correct?
Right, so they'll
Gotcha.
transfer it to us. We had an extensive discussion with them about that.
Okay.
They'll transfer it to us if we want to get it off I forget, are they in the Google cloud? I forget who houses their cloud. Then, Google may charge us somewhat of a fee, but that's true of any, provider. Or we can download it ourselves. It's just however we want to do it.
Okay. Any other questions? Sheriff, Director, do you guys have anything you want to add, or ditto, or anything like that? Okay. I didn't want you to be ignored, and I wanted to recognize that you guys were here and that everybody's in
Well, I
lockstep.
think it's awesome that we're being able to provide not just, the police department, but the sheriff's department and the corrections department. I'm not too sure how universal that is around the country where corrections departments, have these. So I think that's pretty impressive.
There's a lot of business in Rory's shop that comes out of corrections. So I
We're
think it's
familiar with that part,
crucial.
So it'll be good for the corrections to have that protection as well.
Right, and the sheriff's moving them between correctional facilities. So his officers are, picking them up and moving them, and they're just as susceptible to somebody claiming something happened.
Sure.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And thanks for your service.
Thank you very much.
With that, we will move on to conditional use permits and bills for final passage. Bill number 4975.
Bill number 4975, an ordinance granting conditional use permit CUP 21-09A for an outdoor storage yard for automobiles, boats, trucks, trailers, and recreational vehicles to Two Rivers AG LLC property owner and Boschert Brothers Storage LLC applicant.
We've already done public hearings for these. You have any questions or comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bill number 4975, an ordinance granting conditional use permit, CUP 21-09A, for an outdoor storage yard for automobiles, boats, trucks, trailers, and recreational vehicles to Two Rivers AG LLC property owner and Boschert Brothers Storage LLC applicant. Councilman Cronin.
Yes.
Councilman Brazel. Councilman Hammond.
Yes.
Councilman Elam.
Yes.
Councilman Hollander.
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman White.
Yes.
Bill number 4975 passes. On to bill number 4976.
Bill number 4976, an ordinance granting conditional use permit, CUP 2109B, for a landscaping contracting service to Two Rivers AG LLC property owner and Boschert Brothers Storage LLC applicant.
As we said, public record is closed on this. We had the public hearing 2 weeks ago, so call the roll, please.
Bill number 4976, an ordinance granting conditional use permit, CUP 21-09B, for a landscaping contracting service to Two Rivers AG LLC property owner and Boschert Brothers Storage LLC applicant. Councilman Brazel.
Yes.
Councilman Hammond.
Yes.
Councilman Elam.
Yes.
Councilman Hollander.
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman White.
Yes.
Councilman Cronin.
Yes.
That wraps up our public comments for conditional use permits. Boy, it's a Monday, isn't it? So bill number 4976 passes. That gets us up to public comments. I was ahead of myself. For those of you who are new to public comments, typically you have your card turned in. We do comments for or against, 3 for, 3 against on any particular issue. Once a topic is raised, we'll go through that topic and then move on to the next. Our first public speaker tonight is
Brenda Webb.
welcome back. And no bullhorn, so that's awesome.
I know, right? We just stood out front and talked.
There you go.
So, thank you again for being here. We are here to just, thank you again for standing strong last year. We are so proud of our county, and one of the county councilmen in St. Louis yesterday told me over the phone that we live in the land of the free, and I would add the land of the brave, because we're intrepid, freedom-loving, Constitution-supporting, liberty people, and we just really appreciate you standing. We trust that you're going to do it again. Our neighbors, are going through the whole rigmarole, and God bless them. We don't want it to come here. So we just want you to know we're still standing, with you. Appreciate it. And, thank you.
Thanks. Next speaker.
That was our only speaker card.
I'm sorry, say again?
That's the only speaker card.
Oh, the rest of you are just,
We'll be back if we need to.
I don't think Mary Ann's ever been here without filling out a speaker's card. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm just kidding. Thank you very much. All right, so that wraps up public comment. We'll go to oral report from the county executive.
No report this evening, Mr. Chairman.
That gets us up to the consent agenda. Any items to be removed or discussed from the consent agenda?
Move to accept.
Move to accept. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
There's a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Consent agenda passes. That brings us up to bills for final passage. Bill number 4977.
Bill number 4977, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from I-2 Heavy Industrial District with Floodway Fringe Overlay District to A Agricultural District with Floodway Fringe Overlay District per application RZ 21-10.
Any questions or comments on this bill? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bill number 4977, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from I-2 Heavy Industrial District with Floodway Fringe Overlay District to A Agricultural District with Floodway Fringe Overlay District per application RZ 21-10. Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilman Cronin?
Yes.
Councilman Brazel?
Bill number 4977 passes. On to bill number 4978.
Bill number 4978, an ordinance authorizing execution of a cooperation agreement with the City of Dardenne, Prairie to join the St. Charles Urban County as recognized by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Any questions or comments on this bill? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bill number 4978, an ordinance authorizing execution of a cooperation agreement with the City of Dardenne, Prairie to join the St. Charles Urban County as recognized by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilman Cronin?
Yes.
Councilman Brazel? Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Bill number 4978 passes. That brings us up to bill number 4979.
Bill number 4979, an ordinance 1, authorizing submittal of a 2021 through 2025 Consolidated Plan and 2021 Action Plan for St. Charles County, Missouri in its capacity as an urban county and participating in the Community Development Block Grant Program through the St. Louis Home Consortium. 2, authorizing the county executive to execute all related documents. And 3, authorizing acceptance of CDBG funds in the amount of $1,122,662.
Any questions or comments on this bill? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bill number 4979, an ordinance 1 authorizing submittal of a 21 through 2025 Consolidated Plan and 2021 Annual Action Plan for St. Charles County, Missouri in its capacity as an urban county and participating in the Community Development Block Grant Program through the St. Louis Home Consortium. 2, authorizing the county executive to execute all related documents. And 3, authorizing acceptance of CDBG funds in the amount of $1,122,662. Councilman Hollander.
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman White.
Yes.
Councilman Cronin.
Yes.
Councilman Brazel. Councilman Hammond.
Yes.
Councilman Elam.
Yes. Bill number 4979 passes. Final bill for final passage tonight is 4980.
Bill number 4980, an ordinance authorizing the county executive or his designee to execute a memorandum of understanding in conjunction with the Core Public Health Functions Contract for fiscal year 2021 with the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services for services to residents of St. Charles County and receipt of funds across fiscal years 2021 through 2024.
Any questions or comments on this bill? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bill number 4980, an ordinance authorizing the county executive or his designee to execute a memorandum of understanding in conjunction with the Core Public Health Functions Contract for fiscal year 2021 with the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services for services to residents of St. Charles County and receipt of funds across fiscal years 2021 through 2024. Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilman Cronin?
Yes.
Councilman Brazel? Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Bill number 4980 passes. That wraps up bills for final passage. On to bills for introduction, starting with bill number 4982.
Bill number 4982, requested by Craig Tykowski, sponsored by council as a whole. An ordinance establishing new traffic regulations and establishing penalties for violations thereof.
Any questions or comments on this bill? Seeing none, we'll move on to bill number 4983.
Bill number 4983, requested by Craig Tykowski, sponsored by Terry Hollander. An ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the City of St. Charles for work required on Country Club Road between Veterans Memorial Parkway and Treetop Drive to mill full width and place a 2-inch asphalt overlay. Whereas the maintenance responsibility for portions of Country Club Road between Veterans Memorial Parkway and Treetop Drive is shared between the City of St. Charles and St. Charles County, and whereas the St. Charles County Highway Department has determined there is need for mill work and a 2-inch asphalt overlay on the county's portion of Country Club Road, and whereas since the City of St. Charles has a contract to do work on its portion of the roadway, it would be beneficial to the St. Charles County Highway Department and the traveling public to have that work completed in an efficient manner by the City of St. Charles. And whereas St. Charles County government has the resources to provide such services through execution of an intergovernmental agreement with the City of St. Charles, and whereas Section 70.22 RSMO authorizes an intergovernmental agreement between political subdivisions for the purposes set out. Could you finish?
Sure. Now therefore be it ordained by the County Council of St. Charles County, Missouri as follows. Section 1, the county executive is hereby authorized to execute the intergovernmental agreement, pavement overlay Country Club Road between the City of St. Charles and St. Charles County, Missouri. Section 2, the agreement shall be substantially the same in form and content as that attached hereto as Exhibit A and incorporated herein. Section 3, compliance with all the terms of the agreement shall be the responsibility of the County Highway Department. Section 4 of this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after the date of its passage and approval, and such agreement shall be valid upon the lawful execution of the agreement by the county executive and appropriate officials of the City of St. Charles as required by Chapter 70 of the revised statutes of the state of Missouri.
Any questions or comments, or would you like for them to reread that?
Well, no.
Just, sorry.
Comments. I literally drive this section probably 5-6 times a day. And it is really a weird deal because the city of St. Charles and St. Charles County somehow own or maintain this road at the same time or whatever. But it certainly needs to be done, and I certainly support this. This needs to be done.
Very well. Move on to Bill number 4984.
Bill number 4984, requested by Sarah Evers, sponsored by council as a whole. An ordinance approving execution of an intergovernmental agreement with the City of St. Charles to provide temporary kenneling services.
Any questions or comments about this bill? Seeing none, that wraps up bills for introduction. No action to be taken on tabled bills. Move on to announcements and miscellaneous. Mr. Cronin.
I'd like to bring up a topic that I think we need to visit. When Mike Klinghammer was on the council, Mike has similar experience to me being from city government, and he had concerns about some of the large purchases being put on the consent agenda where we really don't have a lot of time to look at them. And I think tonight's a good example. We got the information on the body cameras, on the Gateway Green Light, on $400,000 purchase of a half acre of ground late Friday afternoon. It's tough to get the homework done over the weekend, but you go through it, you do the best you can with it, and then on Monday morning, you try to make some calls, and I was fortunate enough to talk to Chief Fritz and Joanne and John Greifsue, but it's always a mad rush to find out the information, and I think when you take this job, you owe it to the public to really vet all the stuff that goes before the council. Mike Klinghammer had proposed, and I've got a copy of the bill, which Donna can provide, any purchase over $150,000 to be removed off the consent agenda and be approved by ordinance. I think that's a lot of burden for the county councilor, because then every purchase like tonight, we would have had 3 ordinances, okay? I like to propose a little something different. When I was chairman and we reviewed council rules, and we talked about this to some extent, the council rules dictate that how the council meeting is run with the consent agenda. I think we could really easily fix this problem just by asking the administration, the executive, that for every consent agenda purchase or contract over $150,000, it goes to 2 council meetings. Then instead of having 2 days to review this stuff, you got basically 2 weeks. We could put a provision in it, okay, that if there's an emergency or if there's a timely manner where a contract's got to be approved by such and such date, we don't have to go 2 meetings. But on a lot of this stuff, to have proper due diligence, I think you need more than 2 days to do it. So that being said, I read the charter on it, I read Mr. Klinghammer's bill, I read the council rules, and I'd like to just get the rest of the council's opinion about this, because, we didn't even discuss, I don't think anybody discussed the $500,000 or $400,000 for $500,000, or for half acre of ground that we just authorized in Highway N. And some of the other stuff, the Gateway Green Light purchase wasn't, there was no statement that was included in the budget. I got that worked out with John. And I can get everything done prior to the meeting, but it's kind of crazy to do a mad rush on this stuff on a Monday morning, when in reality, for instance, the body cam stuff, this stuff was, a lot of this information was, this information process started in February, and we got it Friday afternoon. So that being said, I'd like the rest of the council to consider that. Maybe I can work with Rory, and I think it's a pretty simple matter. Just hit it on the consent agenda. If it's over 150 grand, twice. Approve it on the second visit.
Mr. Hammond.
Well, I think we have the opportunity, if there's anything on a consent agenda that you don't feel comfortable with, or we need more time, that I think we can table that till the next meeting, so.
But the idea, David, doesn't solve the problem of getting the information 2 days prior. This would, because even though you have the right to table it, the body cam, Joanne asked me if we wanted to table the body cam. I said, well, let's just see if we can work it out. If it's a matter of record that it has to go 2 weeks, then maybe the ladies of the council staff will get it sooner than Friday afternoon, okay? because that's the problem. We're not getting it in a timely manner. I like to do other things in my weekend other than read 200-300 pages of the agenda, and then trying to do a mad rush to figure it all out on Monday morning is a real pain in the butt, okay?
Any other questions or comments on this issue? I would ask you to follow up with the county councilor and put something forward for the council to consider.
I don't want this to be an added burden on anybody. I just want to be a way to get that information to the council in a more timely manner, okay?
Okay. Any other announcements or miscellaneous for the meeting tonight?
Yes.
Hey.
Sorry, Mary. Yes, Steve Elman sent out an invitation, and Steve, you might want to add a little bit to it, but it's the Missouri's bicentennial, and the governor will be at the Daniel Boone Home on Wednesday at 9:45. Everyone is welcome to come down. He's going to give a speech, and Steve, I suppose, too, on the bicentennial of Missouri and the history of St. Charles County. And with Steve being the history teacher that he was, I'm sure he'll be adding a lot of ingredients to the story. So please come down. We welcome everyone. 9:45, Mary, right? What, sorry?
9:45 to 10:30.
10:30, and do they need to, I saw your email. Do you recommend making reservations? Not necessarily? There's plenty of parking down there, so there shouldn't be an issue. So it's a beautiful, if you haven't been to Daniel Boone Home, it's absolutely wonderful. It's a county park, a lot of historic buildings. It's a great place to go visit.
Is it this Wednesday or next Wednesday?
No, it's this Wednesday.
This Wednesday.
This Wednesday, okay.
And then I believe that he's coming to Steve, isn't he coming here too afterwards, right?
Going, yeah, to down the street here. To the
Okay.
Capitol. Yeah, so he'll be getting 2 spots in St. Charles County on the same day.
Okay, so
Excellent.
you guys.
And I'm
should
sure the
come.
city of St. Charles would love for you to show up at that one too, if you'd like. If they give you any trouble, let me know.
Well,
Tell them you know
speaking-
Mike Clayhammer.
I was at St. Charles Rotary this past Thursday, and they had a representative from St. Charles County Historical Society. And if you haven't been to the History Museum here, there is a lot of amazing information about the history of St. Charles County, and they have a lot of great genealogy stuff there that you can figure out the history of all these people that are on the roads that are around here, the names that are there, like Elman Road, and how long that's been there, and all the different generations, and how we came about being to where we are. So if you didn't read the county executive's book, or you didn't watch the documentary that he made, then you can go talk to them, and they will fill in if there's any blanks left, which I don't know that there are, but yes, sir.
Also, there's a magazine like at the Schnucks Rackets or wherever, Deerbergs, wherever you go where they sell magazines. And there's a magazine that's called Cowboys and Indians, okay? And I've really never heard of this, but there was a group of people we have Missouri River Excursion business where we take people out and do Missouri River excursions. So we brought this group, we put them in at Jefferson City. It was a 3-day raft trip. And so they really actually wrote it's like a 5-page story about our area, about St. Charles, about Missouri, the history. And it's actually a very good article. A lot of pictures. Yeah, so it's called Cowboys and Indians. It's in a news rack stand. It's out this week. Yeah, it's a monthly magazine. It's an expensive magazine. It's $8, but I mean, we bought it to see the story. Yeah.
You learn something new every day.
Yeah.
All right, anything else for the good? I would entertain a motion to dismiss. Motion made. Do I hear a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. We are dismissed.